A single, ordinary coin is a repertory of possible futures. It represents the absolute freedom of human choice. Money is abstract, a placeholder for what might happen next. A 20-centavo piece can branch out into an evening of Brahms, a map of a distant country, or a game of chess. Jorge Luis Borges observed this fluid potential through the lens of Clementina Villar, a woman who treated social correctness as a rigid, exhausting religious creed. In 1930s Buenos Aires, Clementina applied an uncompromising strictness to her presence. She appeared at the correct places at the correct hour, exhibiting the exact degree of boredom required by her station. Her life was a search for perfection in the momentary. She chased these fleeting standards through the shifting dictates of Paris and Hollywood fashion, constantly altering her smile and her complexion to match the idealized poses of the day. When the German occupation of Paris cut off the flow of fashion, Clementina's world fractured. She was forced into arbitrary eccentricities, like buying cylindrical hats that she later discovered were never actually worn in Paris. Clementina lived in a state of constant metamorphosis, attempting to outrun her own identity through a relentless pursuit of the latest style. This life of curated, superficial perfection would soon be eclipsed by the narrator's own encounter with a different kind of absolute object. After leaving Clementina's wake, Borges wandered the darkened streets of the southern district. The predictable rows of houses took on an abstract appearance in the silence. Seeking a sharp break from the rigid air of the wake, he entered a coarse tavern at the corner of Chile and Tacuary. He was intrigued by the ease of the act, the simple contrast of a card game and a glass of brandy. He paid for his drink and received a 1929 20-centavo piece in his change. It was marked by sharp, deliberate scratches, as if made with a penknife. He had just come into possession of the zahir. The next morning, he tried to remove himself from its orbit. He took the underground train to an unfamiliar neighborhood and spent the coin at a nameless tavern, managing not to look at the house numbers or the street name. He took a sleeping pill and assumed the matter was settled. He did not yet realize that the more he practiced the act of forgetting the coin, the more the zahir would occupy the center of his mind. Insomnia set in. He tried to override the image of the scratched nickel disc by studying more prestigious currency. He used a magnifying glass to trace the dragon of a British pound sterling, hoping the complexity of the gold would distract him. He soon discovered a monograph titled Orbis Gesta Zahir, which detailed a recurring superstition with Islamic origins dating back to the 18th century. In Arabic, zahir means notorious or visible. It is one of the names of God, but it is also applied to objects with the property of being unforgettable, images that eventually drive the beholder to madness. The book recorded historical outbreaks, a copper astrolabe in Shiraz that caused men to forget the universe, and a magic tiger in Gujarat that ruined anyone who beheld it, even from a distance. One victim, an imprisoned fakir, spent his final years covering his cell walls in a vertiginous composition of tigers, a map of the world composed of infinite overlapping beasts. In Córdoba, the zahir was a single vein of marble in one of the mosque's 1,200 pillars. Borges realized he was part of a historical cycle. He was merely the latest individual to be consumed by a single, inescapable reality. Time only aggravated the memory. Eventually, he began to see the obverse and reverse of the coin simultaneously. His eyesight became spherical, with the scratched nickel disc at the center. The external world receded. Anything that was not the zahir arrived in his mind as a blurry fragment, as if seen from a great distance. The poet Alfred Tennyson once suggested that if we could truly understand a single flower, we would know what the world is. Tennyson's thought was an ideal, but the zahir acts as a corrosive filter. To see one object with this level of clarity is to lose sight of the rest of the world. By 1948, the narrator expected to be fed and dressed by others. He would no longer know who Borges was, or perceive the universe as anything other than the coin. The funnel of his reality was closing. The complex dream of human life had been replaced by a dream of a single object. He held on to one final hope, that by thinking of the zahir until it became meaningless, he might find God behind the coin. He looked to the Sufis, who repeat the names of the divine until the words lose their definitions, allowing the speaker to lose themselves in the infinite. He viewed his predicament as a transition from a highly complex dream to a final dream of utter simplicity. He left the world with one question. If everyone on earth thinks day and night only of the zahir, which state will be the dream and which will be reality? The ultimate consequence of such an obsession is the total replacement of the world. The universe ceases to be a collection of things and events and collapses into the single immutable fact of the coin.